America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Melanie, stay here. I want you guys to please give Melanie a big applause. She's the one that's in the office, in the front office, that deals with all of us. So, thank you very much, Melanie. All right. The prayer today will be offered by the young lady from Anne Arundel County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
My pleasure. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Colleagues, please bow your heads for a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, as we end another week of this legislative session, we come before you with grateful hearts. We thank you for the opportunity to serve our communities and the responsibility entrusted to us. We ask for your guidance and wisdom in every decision we make. Cover us in your precious blood, providing us with strength and protection as we advocate for those we represent. Let our actions reflect your love and grace, bringing hope and positive change to our neighborhoods. May your spirit inspire our discussions and lead us to collaborate harmoniously with unity and understanding. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Give people a minute to reach their seats. If there's anyone in the back, give them time to come. Thank you for this. Appreciate you. Thank you for being thoughtful. You are. I want you to know that, okay? All right. Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 117 members present, the House is now in session. The clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February the 5th, 2026.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the journal.
So order, petitions, memorial, and other papers. Consent calendar of introductory House Bills number 34. The clerk will read the bills.
House Bill 959, Delegate Ruff, Environment and Transportation.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
So much be considered the reading of House Bills 959 through 979.
Hearing no objection, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committees. Consent calendar of introductory House Bill number 35. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 980, Delegate Griffith, Judiciary.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
So much be considered the reading of House Bills 980 through 1018.
Hearing no objection, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committees. Introduction of House Joint Resolutions. The clerk will read the resolutions and their committee assignments.
House Joint Resolution 8, Delegate White Holland, House Rules by order Sylvia Seeger, Chief Clerk.
Introduction of House Simple Resolution. The clerk will read the resolution and the committee assignment.
House Simple Resolution number 1, Delegate Buckle, House Rules by order Sylvia Seeger, Chief Clerk.
Message from the Senate. Senate bills introduced in the House. The clerk will read the bills and committee assignments.
Senate Bill 5, Senator Kagan, Government, Labor, and Elections. Senate Bill 29, Senator Kagan, Government, Labor, and Elections. Senate Bill 93, Senator Kagan, House Rules by order Sylvia Seeger, Chief Clerk.
The clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignment.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 20, February 6, 2026, referred to appropriations. Can you get that for me? Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 21, February 6, 2026, referred to appropriations.
I'm glad I waited. Okay. Quorum call. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 123 members present, the House is still in session. So good morning, everyone. So today we have House third reading calendar number 3. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1, Investor-Owned Electric, Gas, and Gas and Electric Companies Cost Recovery Limitations.
House Bill 1 is on third reader and final passage. Is there any debate? Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sorry, apologize, I'm not.
It's okay. It's all right. It's Friday. It's Friday. Go ahead, floor
All right.
leader.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
To the body on the bill, a lot was said on the floor yesterday, and I wanted to address some of those things. Last year, we passed the Next Generation Energy Act. This legislation was to fast-track 3,100 megawatts of dispatchable energy storage, including, yes, to the body, including natural gas. Encouraged 1,750 megawatts of new storage, and encouraged nuclear. Yes, nuclear. Provided $200 million in residential ratepayer credits last year, and we have another $100 million in the budget for this year. The bills are high for a couple of reasons, and the bills are high over the last couple of years because of uncertainty and speculation in the capacity markets throughout the PJM, not just in Maryland, throughout the PJM. AI and data centers are driving this speculation. Phantom load is driving this speculation, and that's driving capacity costs. That's why a couple of weeks ago, the governors in the PJM, along with the White House, proposed a bifurcating of capacity markets to try to separate out and potentially fund data centers separately. While not clear how this would actually work, it's a good first step and it's a good conversation to start. And it also, furthermore, recognizes that this is not just a Maryland problem. That was stated many times yesterday, and I want to make sure it's very clear to everybody here and all those at home are watching, this is not just a Maryland problem. Furthermore, markets need predictability. Not tariffs today. Oh, no, wait, not tariffs. Tariffs today, no tariffs tomorrow, no, not tariffs today. Yes, we want tariffs. That is not predictability. Wind today, no. After 10 years of work on wind, we're going to freeze wind. That's not predictability. That drives up costs for Marylanders, and it drives up costs and speculation for everybody in the PJM. We all know that tariffs are borne by the country that imposes them. And you know who that is? That's us. Furthermore, we have not and we do not close power plants. Coal is being retired because it's just not cost effective. Times change. It's not cost effective. Renewables are cheaper, natural gas is cheaper, and that's it. Despite hundreds of billions of dollars every year, hundreds of billions of dollars every year in federal tax credits for fossil fuels, still renewables are cheaper. It's a free market. This is the transition. This bill helps to reduce costs to ratepayers. It's one of many cost-saving bills coming this year. If anybody in this body has other ideas, we welcome them. Bring the stakeholders together, do the work, and bring the bill. If you want to reduce the cost to ratepayers, you should vote for the bill. If you think $250,000 per year is fair pay for an executive, and anything above that should be paid for by the shareholder, then vote for the bill. The bill in no way stops corporations and their shareholders from grossly overpaying their executives. It just says ratepayers are not going to pay for it. We already pay too much. Once again, to remind the body, in 2012, BG&E profits were $150 million. Since Exelon bought BG&E, in 2024, profits have almost tripled, over tripled to $527 million. Same thing for Pepco. $205 million of profits in 2018. After the merger with Exelon, now in 2024, $390 million in profits. Their executives and shareholders are swimming, absolutely swimming in profits, while our ratepayers are trying to figure out whether to pay their rent or buy milk or buy eggs. If they want to pay their shareholders more money, let them pay them more money. They have the money, they have the profits. So with that said, I would strongly encourage every member of this body, if you have ratepayers and you care about what they pay, please vote for the bill. Thank you.
You're welcome. Recognizing now the Minority Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
You're
Sometimes I
welcome.
get confused.
It's okay.
Yeah. I would ask.
I got you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. I would ask if the floor leader would be so inclined to answer a few. There you are. Answer a few questions.
I'll do my best, sir. Good morning.
All right. So on behalf of the ratepayers, so if we pass HB 1, how much per month is a ratepayer expected to save with this bill?
Again, this, as I've already mentioned several times, this bill is heavily amended. We don't have an exact figure on that, but it could be a couple bucks. Again, stretched over, you're talking about anywhere from 20 to 50 or 75 million dollars for across the board.
Less than $1. I asked. I talked to BG&E. This passes. Maybe ratepayers save less than $1. Straight from BG&E. Does this bill, Mr. Floor Leader, I got a couple more questions. Does this bill only apply to executives?
Supervisors. So anybody that supervises.
Okay. So if there's like a middle management person that's in charge with responding to emergencies during a snowstorm, would this bill apply to that person as well?
If they supervise people and they're making more than $250,000, then yes.
Okay. So what I heard, I'll start with the questions and then I'll let you go, and I appreciate your patience. Okay, so we talked about the potential savings per month, right? We talked about who it applies
Yeah,
to.
and I would say to you too that just because, you know, $20 or $30 or $40 a year isn't a lot of money to you, it doesn't mean it's not a lot of money to somebody. And I think that's very important for this body to understand. You define on your own what's a lot of money. Not everybody gets to decide for you how you define what's a lot of money.
Thank you for answering the questions. I appreciate it. So just to recap, saves less than $1 a month should HB 1 passes. It doesn't apply to executives. It applies to everybody.
It does apply.
I mean, it doesn't only apply to, and we're good. You
Okay.
can have a seat. Thank you. I'm good. I don't have any more questions for you.
Okay, so you're asking me to sit down?
Yeah,
Is that what you're doing?
I don't have any more questions for you. So you're good. No, and I'm not done. I got the floor. Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like him to sit down? Give him a minute to sit.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You
Appreciate
may
it.
now proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
And thank you to the floor leader who, you know, is a friend of mine. So here's the issue that I have. Listen, I'm all for virtual signaling. I don't have BG&E as constituents. We have Potomac Edison. I understand that rates are going up. Utility rates are going up for everyone. It's a bad situation. No question. No question. And I'm inclined to vote for something that reduces rates for my constituents, 100%. Here's the issue that I have with this bill. This bill may, according to the fiscal note, may reduce utility bills by less than $1. Less than $1. It villainizes all the people at BG&E, including the CEO, who happens to be the first African-American woman of BG&E's history, which I think is great. But it villainizes the people at these utilities when they don't set the rates. They don't set the rates. The Public Service Commission sets the rates. The Public Service Commission, who are appointed by the governor, sets the rates that constituents pay, not BG&E. So here we have a bill to make them the absolute villains, which also applies to the poor line workers who are in charge of safety and reliability in our communities. We just had a massive snowstorm, 10-day below freezing temperatures. These dudes are outside in negative degree temperature fixing our lines, and we're going to make them the villains. That's what this bill does. But look, I'm all for reducing utility bills by $1. Maybe you got me. You got me in a quandary here. But I find this bill somewhat misleading, personally, because this does not address the high utility bills that people are getting. We heard an amendment yesterday on this bill which would have offered transparency. Do you think your ratepayers and your constituents know that there are between $30 and $100 worth of other fees on that bill that are really jacking these things up? No, because we wouldn't pass an amendment to show them. Right? We wouldn't even allow an explanation on these bills because they're what, too many pages? I heard the argument, oh, that's too many pages. We can't add any more pages. We don't want ratepayers to actually know why their bills are going up. Oh, no, no. It's better to villainize a few people at the utilities for $1. That is the issue that I have, to be honest with you. Look, I'm all for it. Maybe I vote for it to save $1, maybe. But I want my constituents to know that there's a lot more to their bill. For example, Empower, a program that just the debt service alone for that program is $4 a month on a bill. $4 a month. We have the ability right now to put a pause on Empower, which would save the constituent at least $26 a month. Why aren't we doing that? Oh, no. No, it's better to save the dollar, villainize everybody at BG&E, and trick them into thinking that's the only solution we have. There is a lot to these bills where we can save people money right now. But you know what? Every single amendment that's going to come in dies quick. We can't tell people why their bills are really going up. Oh, no. The better strategy, the better political expedient strategy is to villainize everybody at BG&E, including the CEO, right? Breaking glass ceilings, but no, we're going to villainize her too in this bill. I think it's wrong. I think it's disingenuous. I would have hoped my colleagues in this chamber would have allowed at least transparency so that the ratepayers know what they're paying. The truth of the matter is, and I'll just say it, look, he's a friend of mine too, but the chair of the Public Service Commission was in this body. He's more responsible for the increase in the rates on these utilities bills than the people at BG&E. That's the truth. All of these additional riders on utility bills, whether it's Empower or other programs, that's part of why these bills are jacked up. Why don't we address those? Are we really trying to lower utility bills? Are we really? Let's be honest. I don't think we are. I think what this bill does is this is a virtual signaling saying, hey, we're going to hammer BG&E, look what they're doing to us. But it ain't the truth. It's not the truth. And look, well, you might get some Republicans that vote for it because it does lower their bills by $1. By $1. So for those reasons, I just wanted to bring up, I have some serious concerns with the messaging on this bill. I really do, because it does not address the real issues that our constituents face. It's unfair to trick them into thinking that this is all one utility's fault. The truth of the matter is the General Assembly has made energy more expensive in this state. The blood is on our hands, right? The General Assembly, with these policies over the last several decades, have made utility rates in the state of Maryland go through the roof. That's who should be responsible, and that's what the constituents and the citizens of Maryland should know. And this bill doesn't tell them that. That's my issue with HB 1. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Madam-
I'm recognizing
Madam
the
Speaker.
chair of the Utility Subcommittee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Look,
Thank-
a couple of...
th-
One second, the one behind
Oh,
you.
sorry. Did you want to recognize the floor leader, Madam Speaker?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So there were a lot of words there. Let me just say, this bill doesn't villainize anyone. What this bill does, and let me remind you, is it says that if you're going to give bonuses and money to highly compensated employees and executives at these companies that are shareholder invested companies, okay, so they make money in the stock market, all right, if you're going to give those bonuses and salaries, which you can still do, the PSC cannot pass on those costs to ratepayers. That's what it says. Now, it is a first step, as has been said here, to reducing utility bills. I don't care whether it's $1, $2, $40, it does reduce utility bills. It will reduce utility bills for ratepayers because we are not passing those costs on to ratepayers. And let me just say this. If it affected the linemen who are out there working, who all deserve whatever they're paid and their support, it does not affect them because this bill is about what we pay the bosses. If it did affect them, then the unions supporting this bill wouldn't be supporting it. The large utilities can still pay their executives those bonuses and high salaries, just like they can still pay for private jets and parties and dues to associations and the other things that we have already said, that this body in the General Assembly has already said those costs can't be passed on to ratepayers. They can still pay for those things. And in fact, I asked the utility companies whether they still pay for private travel and private jets and those kinds of perks that we said could not be passed on to ratepayers, whether they still pay those, and they said yes. And I asked them specifically, where do you get the money to pay for those? And they said, from shareholder profits. That's where they get the money. So they can still do it, and they still are doing it. So let me also make one more point, and then I'll sit down. None of the amendments that have been offered here yesterday on this bill bring down rates. We're all for transparency and discussion about why our utility rates are so high, but none of the amendments offered yesterday would have brought down rates. This bill, as it stands now today before you, does bring down rates. And finally, I'll just end with one thing, because a lot of words have been said here. And this is something that I learned from my friends in the labor movement. It's this: watch my lips, but more closely, watch my feet. With my feet, I'm going to be voting yes on this amendment on this bill for all those reasons. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing, I do have a list. All right, so I'm going to recognize the gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I greatly appreciate it. There is one thing we should be paying attention to this bill. The people of Maryland are asking what we're doing in general to fix this issue and what this bill does. I'd like to start with a quote from the committee testimony from the Public Services Commission. Pursuant to its statutory authority to regulate public service companies to ensure just and reasonable rates under established Maryland rate-making principles, the Commission determines whether costs proposed for recovery and rates are prudent, proper, and were necessarily incurred in the provision of utility service. This is the important part. This authority includes reviewing executive compensation, incentive compensation, and other employee-related costs to determine whether such costs should be appropriately be borne by ratepayers or shareholders. The Public Services Commission said in its written and committee testimony that they already have this authority. So I would say to the people of Maryland, don't be distracted by these red herrings about is it $1, is it $2, is it about pay, is it about planes. There is one argument to vote for or against this bill, and that is this. This bill does nothing. The Public Service Commission already has this authority. You could read the testimony, you could read the bill, and see in plain language, they already do this. My angst with this bill is that we are selling a bold-faced lie to the people of Maryland about what we as leaders are doing, or more appropriately, not doing, to fix their problem. I'd like to read one more quote from my friend Pat, who lives in my district. I remodeled my home to 2,200 square feet, brand new appliances, and only me living here. He mentions that because new appliances are all energy efficient. My bill went from $220 a month to almost $700 a month. I hear you, Pat. And what I want you to know is that the elected leaders of Maryland here today, we aren't doing anything except patting ourselves on the back. This bill should be called the Politician Protection Act, because that's all it does. This bill does absolutely nothing. It's not a debate about $1, $2. It's actually $0. This isn't making rates go up or down. This is word salad mishmash. We are passing a bill, words go into law, and we're just shuffling stuff around. Folks, read the bill. The Public Service Commission already does this. It is so horrendous and offensive that the first and foremost action we are taking to reduce rates does absolutely nothing. So if you're looking for a reason to vote for or against this bill, that's the only reason. And to put a green mark on something so horrendous, I find it to be offensive, and that's why I'll be a no today.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
My pleasure.
Colleagues, I rise today to say I'm proud to vote for this bill, a bill that my committee worked on, for two simple but important reasons. First of all, this bill will save ratepayers money. BGE admitted it in their testimony. For some reason, Pepco and Exelon said they couldn't know, so I don't know why BGE can do that math, but they cannot, I don't know. The number that they came up with was around $1.70 in their testimony, but based on the data they gave, the amount of energy they were basing that on is about a third of what I paid for last month, so I'm willing to bet their savings are actually higher. And I'll also say that if this bill did nothing, if this bill did not save people money, they wouldn't be opposing it. They wouldn't be fighting this tooth and nail, and they are. So first of all, like I said, this will save people money. This is a guarantee. I'll also mention, yes, the PSC in theory does possess this power already, but as my friend from St. Mary's, who's the primary sponsor of this bill, said, we set the policy. We set the policy for the PSC, and then the PSC sets the rates. So we are setting the policy, and we are putting forth what our values are to the PSC with this bill. There's no question that this bill will save money, and it will do so almost immediately. Again, the committee amended the bill specifically to do that. And you might be disappointed this bill doesn't do all you want it to do, or it might not have accepted all the amendments you wanted to be accepted, but that doesn't change the reality that it will put money back in people's pockets, and it will do it quickly. And second, this bill is, again, it's the right thing to do. You may believe that the savings are not substantial enough, or maybe this doesn't go far enough. And again, I agree. But if you believe that utilities governed by the Public Service Commission, utilities that are investor-owned and make millions of dollars of profits year after year, can pay their executives over $250,000 using our constituents' money, then I don't know what to tell you. I say no. I say no to that. They can pay their executives whatever they choose, but they should do so with their corporate profits and shareholder dollars and not with our constituents' money. So what this comes down to for me is I'm given the choice between standing with my constituents or standing with utility executives. And I choose my constituents every single time. So I urge you to stand with the ratepayers and not the executives today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The gentleman from Baltimore County talked a little bit about this. The Public Service Commission, energy is hard, it's complicated, it's kind of boring, but it's really, really, no offense to my friend from Montgomery County, it's kind of boring. But it's become really, really important because it's driving people out of their homes, it's driving people out of Maryland, it's driving businesses from not wanting to come here because we have some of the highest costs in the country. One of the things interesting about it is, as my colleague from Baltimore County just talked about, is the Public Service Commission's position on the bill. So the Public Service Commission makes clear the former chair of the Environment and Transportation Committee sent a letter to the current chair of the Environment and Transportation Committee about HB1. This was not sent from BGE. This was not sent from some nefarious Republican lobbyist. This was sent from one of the primary climate change advocates in the legislature over the last 20 years, who now chairs the Public Service Commission. And as indicated, and I don't think we really understand what in the heck we're doing here sometimes. I'm not sure if it's virtual signaling. I don't want to pick. It's called virtue signaling. Well, we're virtue signaling an awful lot. We're virtue signaling. Because here's a little thing, too, from the Public Service Commission's perspective. The bill could also encourage utilities to shift some incentive-based compensation, those are called bonuses, into employee-based salaries, which would increase fixed operating expenses and temper any decrease in customer rates. Additionally, to the extent that the bill's provisions present talent attraction and retention issues for the utilities resulting from capped compensation, it could decrease the quality of services being provided to ratepayers. Not my words, not Pepco's words, not the lobbyists' words, not the evil utility barons' words, the words of Chairman Kumar Barve of the Maryland Public Service Commission, appointed by Governor Westmore. It's a nice little bill, I guess. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to achieve anything. The collateral costs of it, if I ran that business and I wanted to keep certain executives and they said, hey man, it's going to really hurt the operations of the company for you to give me a $100,000 bonus or a $50,000 bonus, it's going to put us above the cap. Why don't you just give it to me in my base compensation? And at the end of the year, if I don't meet certain targets, then my base compensation gets docked for the next year. It's base compensation. Rolls into my rates. Again, it's boring. It's not sexy. It's accounting. But that's how the real world works. And the bill's not going to accomplish much of anything in the real world. The Public Service Commission, as my colleague from St. Mary's County indicated yesterday, they already have the ability to do this. Your bonuses, if it's tied to Exelon's stock price went up, and a lot of people's bonuses are. If you're the CEO, the CFO, the big shots of the big companies, they get bonuses and stock options provided to them because the company did well. Ipso facto, my shareholders must think I'm doing a good job. I get paid. Welcome to the United States of America. Thank God. That's what happens. But we don't allow any of those bonuses to go into your rates. My ratepayers, your ratepayers, they're not paying anything for that. The Public Service Commission already does this. The Public Service Commission says very, very cleanly, the only types of potential bonuses for supervisory employees that we allow to be included in rates is if we do a thorough rate-making proceeding and say that those incentive goals are tied to safety, reliability, and customer service. The chief engineer for BG&E comes up with a genius idea of how to reroute some power lines in Baltimore City, Baltimore County to make it safer and to make sure your customers get heat and electric provided to them consistently without interruption. And the company says, man, Stacy, man, Cheryl, you did a great job. We're going to give you a bonus because you just improved safety and customer reliability, and we'll go to the PSC and ask that to be included because you did it for the ratepayers' benefit. This bill, it doesn't really do much of anything, and the Public Service Commission told you that. We should be in Maryland eliminating mandates on your bills every month that do not meet the moment. I do not want to steal the phraseology of our governor. He's a very good and interesting speaker, but he talks an awful lot about it is time in these times to rise together and meet the moment. Well, the moment for Maryland's ratepayers is we cause their bills to cost too much because we believe in green energy so much that we bankrupt a middle-class family to meet a paper goal. We believe in it so much that we believe in it more than common sense. And so at the end of the day, maybe that was okay 5 years ago. Maybe it was okay 10 years ago. It's not okay today. Meet the moment. Your ratepayers are getting soaked with the bills. You're adding charges every month thinking if we do this, in 2075 will be zero emissions and the seas will recede. But in 2030, your ratepayer will go bankrupt, sell their house, leave their apartment, and leave Maryland. Meet the moment now. The moment now is to eliminate things that unnecessarily add expenses to everybody's monthly bill. You can bring them back later. The economy changes, the world changes, transmission prices changes, bring them back. And the second thing to do to meet the moment is encourage the construction and the operation of increased energy generation in our state by whatever means necessary. If you could get your wind project running and it didn't have to be heavily subsidized and it got all the federal tax credits and it provided a watt of energy that benefited my folks, fine. I live, along with my colleague from Garrett County in the last row, we're the only people in this room that's ever seen a wind project in our districts. We're the only ones. You all will never see a wind project in your district. They're not bringing any wind projects to Baltimore County. They're not bringing them to Prince George's County. They're not bringing them to Montgomery County, Howard County, anywhere. Just me and him. We're the only ones that have wind projects. And I can tell you flat out, they're not going to save the day in Maryland anytime in the foreseeable future. I'd like to vote for the bill because I know that the bill's sponsor and that the floor leader on the bill and a lot of people have good intentions of wanting to help people save. I really would. And maybe, as has been said, maybe we save $1, we save $2, we save $5. I'm not laughing at anybody that says needs to save $1. But this bill isn't going to do what you think it's going to do, according to former Delegate Kumar Parve and the Public Service Commission, and it's not going to solve any of the long-term problems. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentleman from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
Colleagues,
welcome.
thank you. Colleagues, all across American politics right now, in both parties, we're hearing a little bit of a different tune start to emerge, and I've really liked this new tune. It says, let's take on concentrated corporate power. In both parties, let's stand with working people, and let's stop letting the biggest players write their own rules. And today, we have a very simple opportunity to mean it, to start singing that tune in both parties, because this bill draws a very bright kitchen table rule. Utility bills should pay for power, not perks. Now, we have heard today, we heard yesterday from the opponents of the bill, and I respect many of my colleagues, of course, who have made these points, but they've said, Madam Speaker, you've heard them, this bill does nothing. This is a bill about nothing. This is a nothing burger. This is a distraction. And I think that's nonsense, Madam Speaker, for 3 reasons. First of all, as my good friend from Baltimore County said, if this bill did nothing, the utility companies wouldn't have spent a fortune trying to kill it. I've got a simple rule. If utilities hire a lobby team to kill a bill, it probably helps ratepayers. I don't buy the idea that this does nothing because they fought it tooth and nail. And now apparently they're whispering things into the minority whip's ears about how much it costs. Talk about Fox Garden, the hen house. Secondly, Madam Speaker, this is not just about how big these savings are. This is about corporate incentives. I don't know how many of you guys have served on a corporate board or know how this stuff works, but in a real company, corporate profits pay for executive compensation. And if a corporate executive is overpaid or underperforms, the board responds. Tougher questions are asked. There's responsiveness. There's scrutiny. Here, we have nothing of the sort. We don't have that same feedback loop. Because if a company, if one of these executives underperforms, or if they're overpaid, the board doesn't really have to worry too much about it. They can just pass those costs off to ratepayers. So even if this was a $0 bill, even if it didn't help ratepayers at all, it realigns the corporate incentives here towards how normal companies behave, not regulated monopolies. Third, and first, actually, before I get off this executive compensation thing real fast, I just want to talk about the scale here, because I did some math. I got my back of the envelope ready, and I did some math, okay? One of these corporate CEO salaries, one of them for 1 year, I looked at life expectancy, I looked at average ages, I did a bunch of math. One corporate salary for 1 year would pay for the lifetime utility bills of every single person on the floor today. The pages, the clerks, the press, the troopers, and all 141 members of the House of Delegates. Our lifetime utility bills, and we'd still have enough money left over to give every single member of the House Freedom Caucus $400,000. Now, that doesn't make them villains, Madam Speaker. It doesn't make them villains, but it does make them superstars. And they're superstars on the backs of regular people. Now, third,
Madam Speaker.
Hold on a minute.
That is a direct violation of our rules.
Yes, and I was going to say that young Riley Holland, who's visiting right here to the left, would like me to remind the body that we do not insinuate the motives of other members, okay? So let's try to...
Sorry, Madam Speaker. I didn't mean... let me clarify. I did not mean anything about the Freedom Caucus. I was just having fun with them. Well, I meant on the backs of the corporate executives.
Let's not have too much fun.
Okay.
Let's stay with the third reader with hold on a second. Let's not have too much fun. I have it. Let's stay with the third reader. Let's not make it personal. Okay? This is what I was saying the other day. If one does it, then we're going to have to allow it for the other across the aisle. And my young delegate here says that that's not allowed, okay? That we need to model good behavior. Can you bring her every day, please? Thank you. You may continue, okay?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I apologize, and I certainly did not want to offend the youngest delegate on the
She
floor.
accepts your apology,
Okay,
but she says
appreciate that.
don't do it again.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, third, Madam Speaker, the reason that I think that we should not take it too seriously, the idea that this bill does nothing, is my colleagues have said, even if this savings was 1 penny, why shouldn't we pass this bill? I remember my grandmother treated a penny like a treasure. She would search through couch cushions. She would search through coat pockets to get that 1 penny. And that's what working families in Maryland are doing right now. They're searching for pennies. But the corporate executives that are in this bill aren't. So, Madam Speaker, yes, I agree with my colleagues. We should go after the biggest drivers of energy costs during this session. I look forward to working with all my colleagues in the committee to go after those biggest drivers. And we will. But fairness is not all or nothing. If there is a charge that's on the bill that shouldn't be on there, we should take it off. I am really glad that both parties are starting to talk about standing up to corporate excess. But this bill is our pop quiz, and I hope everyone will join me in voting green.
Delegate from Anne Arundel County.
Thank you, Madam
You're
Speaker.
welcome.
I appreciate you keeping the list up
And I
there.
have a list.
Yeah. I wish we had the same vigor for nonprofit pay as we do some of the corporate pay. But here's what we're doing. We're driving down the highway, our engine is on fire, and we want to put a piece of duct tape over the dashboard to make it stop. That's what we're doing right here. And we talk about pennies, and I appreciate that. I know that your ratepayers are hurting as well, and you're talking about pennies. I'm talking about dollars. I put 3 bills in. Repeal Climate Solutions Now Act bill, repeal Empower, repeal Reggie, get out of Reggie. Empower is, on average, low end, $10 a month. Reggie is $15 a month. And the Climate Solutions Now Act bill is $15 a month. That's $40 compared to $1. That's 3,900% savings. If I had any confidence at all you were willing to pass any one of these 3 bills, I'd sign on. We once again are creating another straw man. And for the argument that we're not shutting down power plants, this is a bill written to the Honorable C.T. Wilson, March 5th, 2024. Indeed, as early as 2020, stakeholders raised concerns
Can't
about...
mention names.
Oh,
Okay?
my apology.
It's okay.
Permission to remove his name?
Yes. Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You are so welcome.
Stakeholders raised concerns about reliability in the BG&E zone associated with carbon emission reduction legislation intended to force Maryland coal plant retirements, HB 1545 and SB 887. While these Sierra Club-supported bills did not pass, it was clear to observers that the state has adopted a policy to phase out all coal generation quickly. They own power plants all over the country. They own a couple here. One of them happens to be Brandon Shores. The other one happens to be Wagner. They're now running on an RMR because of what we did. The RMR is causing every single ratepayer in the BG&E zone to pay more now because the federal government had to step in and say, you know, everybody talks about phantom load. FERC doesn't think it's phantom. The ones that generate the power don't think it's phantom. The people that had rolling blackout this summer in Howard County didn't think it was phantom. All the warnings we get from PJM and Reliability First saying we're going to have rolling blackouts, you can smirk and laugh until it hits your house. It's scary. We have a scarcity problem. And this bill is not going to help that scarcity problem, and it's not going to help any ratepayers. They want real solutions. They're not able to pay their bill because they don't have an extra $1. They're not able to pay their bill because they don't have an extra 50 to 100. And this just doesn't go after it. I appreciate that they're trying to do something. I really do. But this is not, this is pennies. People need dollars. That's why I'll be voting against this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Madam Speaker.
I am calling on the delegate from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am looking forward to voting for this bill. I'd start with the things that I think we all share and agree on, which is I think we all agree that the bills are too damn high. And so that's a good starting point. I also think that we all agree that this is not the only thing that we should do. The fact that this is not the only thing that we should do does not mean we shouldn't do it. This is the third bill we've had on the floor. It's a really good bill, and I'm looking forward to voting for it. But there's a whole bunch more bills and a whole bunch more opportunities we have. Several of them are mine, so I'm hoping this isn't the only bill we're going to move on making electricity cheaper for our residents.
Are you lobbying me? No, just kidding.
What's that?
Are you lobbying me?
I am
Just
lobbying. Do
kidding.
you want me to start naming my bills?
No.
I wasn't going to, but if this is the
I'm
time
going to say,
if this is the time
young
to do that.
delegate from Montgomery, stay with the third reader.
So on the third reader, Madam Speaker, we will have an opportunity to consider many other bills. So I just would urge my colleagues, all of my colleagues, to not vote against this bill because it's not enough. It is a really important first step, and it is an important first step among many that will be taking this session. But while I'm talking about the broader perspective of the other things that we need to address, I do need to correct the record on a few points that have been made. First, I want to correct the record on Empower. People need to understand that the way Empower works is we put money into making homes more efficient, it reduces peak load, and it keeps us from having to build new substations, poles, and wires. Empower has had a 2-to-1 cost-benefit ratio, which means when we make my neighbor's house more efficient, all of us save by not having to pay for a substation that's more expensive. So of course you have utilities sitting there saying, oh, if you want to save money, cut Empower. Well, yes, because they make money off of the substations, we save money off of the Empower investments. Now, to the point about the unamortized balance that's been carried, a number of years ago, the PSC, actually members who were appointed by a previous governor, allowed the utilities to basically put Empower charges on a credit card. So you know how credit cards work? If it's on a credit card, you keep paying the balance, you keep paying the interest, you don't pay the balance. Year by year, that seems great, but over time, you pay more. And guess who earns the money when we pay more over time? Well, that would be the utilities. And so the Office of People's Counsel went before the Public Service Commission, said the utilities should not keep doing this. While we may pay more in the short term, we should not keep paying the interest on our credit card. We need to pay them down. The utilities fought that. Why? Because they make more money when we are paying the interest and not paying down that balance. So 2 years ago, the General Assembly said, we are going to pay down that balance. Yes, it's more difficult, but we cannot keep lining the pockets of shareholders at the expense of ratepayers. And so we took a position in this body to start paying down that balance. Over time, that saves ratepayers money. The Public Service Commission, appointed by the previous governor, did not take that step. This body took that step. Finally, I want to speak, so if we want to continue to avoid future increases, we need to keep investing in Empower. Finally, I want to speak to RGGI. RGGI's complicated. I'll take anyone out to lunch who wants to go through all of how RGGI works, but I do want to say that an analysis of RGGI found that if you look at between 2008 and 2021, the 9 consistent RGGI states actually experienced a decline in electricity prices of 3.2%, holding other things constant, compared to the 7.7% increase in prices for the rest of the country. Now, why would that be? Well, here's why. Because the money that we get from RGGI gets invested in energy efficiency. So come back to my earlier point about Empower. We invest money in energy efficiency, we shave the peak, we don't have to build as much infrastructure, and so we save money. Now, utilities don't necessarily like that, so they will come to your office and say things like, get rid of RGGI, get rid of Empower. But if we're really standing for the ratepayers, we're going to take steps that are shaving those peaks, because over time, that is what will bring down bills. And I hope we have the opportunity over the next several weeks to discuss this further. What are the steps that we're going to take that are going to bring down bills in addition to this excellent bill that we have in front of us here. Madam Speaker, I look forward to those continued conversations, and I look forward for putting my green vote on this bill. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm recognizing the delegate from Carroll County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So who are the stakeholders? Who are the shareholders? Who are the shareholders? Are they a nameless, faceless entity? Or are they ratepayers too? Number one. Number two, when you're talking about recruiting top talent to run an ever increasingly difficult world of providing electricity in a reliable way and an affordable way in a state such as ours, where the landscape is changing year after year after year, you're not going to get that top talent. So we talk about them like they're just these evil, evil business people out there to hurt everyone. These CEOs, these corporate salaries, these are also people who are doing the best they can under an ever-changing landscape. I, for one, as we looked at the weather this morning, we are in case you haven't noticed, a deep freeze. We are going to have 45 to 50 mile per hour winds over this weekend. It is going to be cold, cold. I certainly do not want my power to go out. When you live somewhere that you only have electric and the power goes out, what are you going to do? Are you going to go in the backyard and, make yourself a little fire? How are you going to keep your family warm? How are you going to keep this going? We are hurting ourselves by continuing to try to rapidly go down this highway for the goals that I am not saying are bad. I don't think wind is a bad thing. It's not going to heat all of your homes. It's not going to heat all of the homes of the citizens that live in the state of Maryland. Neither is solar. It's not enough. We have got to do something to help people. And if we are chipping away and making ourselves feel good over $1, I don't know how you go back and tell your constituents, look what I did, in order to satisfy, as our minority said, I think last year or the year before, the great green God. When you go home and you're cold, you want to turn on your heat, you want to have it. When it's 98 degrees and 100% humidity in our state, which it gets to very often, much to my annoyance, I want the air conditioning on. What are we doing? What are we doing to people? We are dangerously close to rolling brownouts. Dangerously close. Look at your constituents and tell them that's okay, because we're going to stick to our goals and we're going to rush to them for the sake of saying so. That's why I'm voting against this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Go. Recognizing the Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I rise to urge you to vote for this bill that is in front of us at this moment on third reader, HB1. A lot has been said about ways that we should address this energy problem that our ratepayers are very concerned about, and that by extension, and we're also ratepayers, we are all very, very concerned with. And we have heard a lot of great ideas about that on the floor today, yesterday, amendments that have been offered, suggestions that have been made by folks rising on the floor. But I'm rising as someone who, I know a lot of you know this, as a baby delegate coming into this floor, was often really influenced by those floor amendments. And I know some of my colleagues in the minority party, I think, would actually make bets sometimes on whether they could get me on certain amendments. As I've matured in my understanding of how this work is done, however, I have to continually remind myself that no matter how great an idea sounds, being thrown out into the ether and out to the public on the floor, every good idea, and frankly, every not so good idea, deserves its due process. It needs to be heard and it needs to be evaluated fully. And the people need to have the opportunity to speak on it. And so I want to bring us back to this bill. Not all those other ideas, which some of them are quite good, and many of them we will be taking up in our committee this year. This bill in front of us is good policy. It is because it is the first step, and nobody is saying it's perfect policy. It is the first step in doing what all of our constituents in Maryland are begging us to do. Start to lower their energy rates. If we do not pass this legislation, I want to be very clear about what this bill, not all the other suggestions do, what this bill does. If we choose not to pass this bill today, then we're saying that inappropriate and extravagant spending by energy companies will continue to be charged directly back on a dollar-by-dollar basis to our ratepayers. You can decide whether you believe that that is something that your constituents would approve of. I do not believe that my constituents believe that that is fair. So let's not allow us to consider the perfect, and this bill is not perfect, to be the enemy of good, the good policy that we have here before us. This bill does not virtue or virtual signal. It actually sends an accountability signal to the energy companies that we have the backs of our constituents, we have the backs of Marylanders, and we are willing to require accountability from energy companies when charges are not reasonable or are not fair. That's what this bill in front of us does. And while, yeah, we're not sure exactly what the reduction on a ratepayer's bill will be, we do know that there is no one suggesting that the bills will be higher because of this bill. But there are many suggesting that whether it's $1 or whether it's $10 or $15, they will be lower. And yeah, I am proud to say to my constituents, I gave you an extra $1 a month, but I firmly believe that we are talking about much more than that. That's a good thing, and it's a good first step. But it's only the first step. This is the beginning of many initiatives, including so many that we've heard on the floor over the past several days that our committee, with the leadership of our brilliant chair and the leadership of our fabulous speaker, has been charged to consider, and we will do that. They will have hearings, they will have public comment, and everyone can come and bring that work to us. And I have never in my time in the General Assembly ever been part of a more committed, more energized, forgive the pun, group of delegates than we have on both sides of the aisle right now in the Environment and Transportation Committee. We are a great team, and all of us are doing our best to solve these problems. So, HB1 is not perfect. It's not a complete solution. It's not a total answer, and no one is pretending that it is. It is a good, solid, policy-driven first step, and I ask you to support this bill. It's not one and done. It's not, it is yes, and let's continue this fabulous work together. Please support this legislation and let us continue the good work. Thank you.
Delegate from Hartford County.
Madam Speaker, I will defer to another gentleman from the other side because some of my questions have been answered.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm going to call on the gentleman from Anne Arundel, then I'm going to come to Baltimore County.
I'll take it.
All right? Actually, the gentleman from Southern Maryland, go ahead. Gentleman from Anne Arundel changed his mind. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I would just want to address some of the comments made on the floor and this talk about this saving $1. This bill doesn't save anything. Zero. We discussed that yesterday. Corporate pay for just BG&E, it's already regulated by the PSC. Corporate jets, already regulated by the PSC. They already have this authority. And it's important for everybody in Maryland to know this bill would only apply to BGE, and Pepco. It doesn't apply to Chop Tank, Southern Maryland, Smetco, or any of those. What it does is set a very bad precedence. It does nothing because this is already regulated by the PSC. But saying that you're going to go after executive pay, there's other things that are expensive. You know, energy's really important, but there's other things that are really expensive too. Colleges, medical, that's the largest cost driver in the budget. We're going to go after executive pay for MedStar. What about housing? Housing seems to be really expensive. Should we go after that? What about nonprofits, as my buddy from Anne Arundel County had mentioned? We have an energy generation problem, and I guess this is my biggest problem with this bill. This is HB1. This is supposed to be the marquee energy solution coming out of this chamber for Mrs. Smith sitting at home with a $1,000 energy bill this month. Instead, it looks like a bill that was drafted by New York City Mayor Madani. Let's take a quick...
Delegate, my friend.
Yes.
Let's stay with the representatives from Maryland.
Sure.
Thank you.
On that note, Madam Speaker, let's talk about the representatives from Maryland because we had some energy generation problems. And you get to get back and look. 2020, there was a bill that was drafted by the chairman of ENT. Where's that guy at now? Oh, he's on the PSC. It's also co-sponsored by the floor leader and the current chairman of the ENT committee. It was called Transitioning from Fossil Fuels. Wonder what that did. Then in 2021, there was another bill drafted by the chairman from ENT that's now on the PSC. Transitioning from Fossil Fuels, the Maryland Coal Community Transition Act. How about that? In other bills, HB 66, 21, transitioning from coal. Bill from the Prince George's County delegation, and 21, coal-fired generation systems or stations prohibited. Prince George's County Stop Environmental Injustice Coal and Gas Plant Act of 2021. Then we'll move forward to 2022. Climate Solutions Act now. Anybody want to jump up and explain how we get a 60% reduction in our 2006 emissions by a bill by 2031 with coal and gas power plants? Anyone want to take a shot at that? I got the letter here from Talon that my friend from Anne Arundel read a little bit earlier. It's dated 2024. Indeed, as early as 2020, stakeholders rising concerns about reliability in the PGE zone associated with carbon emission reduction legislation intended to force Maryland coal plants into retirement. While the Sierra Club supported these bills and they did not pass, it was clear to observers that the state had adopted a policy to phase out coal generation quickly and legislation would be reintroduced. At the same time, new EPA regulations from the Biden administration related to wastewater discharge would have required Talon to spend tens of millions of dollars to operate. And that's when they decided to close. They were closed by legislation threatened by this chamber, passed by this chamber, legislation and regulations imposed by the Biden administration. We just heard one of the floor leaders talk about Empower and Reggie. Well, I'll tell you, Pennsylvania just left Reggie. And Empower right now is nothing but a scheme. It's strictly a gas reduction program. Why are we paying to hook more people up to electric when electric is a scarcity right now? It makes zero sense. While I'm happy that many of us bipartisanly are looking at trying to lower Mr. and Mrs. Smith's electric bill, you're not going to solve the problems with the same logic that created the problems. The bus is in the ditch. Help us get the bus out of the ditch. Now, I'm happy there's going to be other bills this session. A lot of them are proposed by the minority party. Please take them, sign on to them, amend them, and actually fix this problem of lowering electric prices in the state of Maryland. Everybody wants more affordability. We want it desperately. We need to actually do something that has accomplished it, and not just a virtue signaling bill that does nothing. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The gentleman from Baltimore County in the back, yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning.
Morning.
So, colleagues, on my my ride in, I come in every day in the morning. I'm sitting in the car thinking about this conversation, listening to some pretty good songs actually this morning as well. But I was also listening to the weather report for this weekend. We've got another apparently extremely cold situation going this weekend. It made me think about a memo that was put out recently by the Maryland Energy Administration with our last sort of major cold weather event just about a week and a half or so ago. And in that memo, they said a couple things. They said there is a low but not insignificant risk of a grid event in the BGE zone occurring during higher morning demand from Tuesday, January 27th through Friday, January 30th. They went on to say that this could potentially result in load shedding to maintain grid stability. Now, how does that relate to what we're talking about right here? Well, it relates by what the minority leader said just a little while ago. In the letter from Chairman Barve, he talks about one of the issues with this bill here is the possibility for reliability problems inside of the grid. The gentlelady from Carroll County talked about reliability issues. This is not an abstract thing. This is the Maryland Energy Administration saying that this is potentially happening in the future. It's now. It's here. We are there. We're going to have another very cold weekend. We might get another memo saying that we're going to shed potentially power off the grid. I don't know why we would want to pass any policy that could impact that to impact our reliability that is already questionable on the grid. Now we also have heard about costs and cost savings and what they might be or what they might not be. Well, what I do know is that if we wanted to have some serious cost savings, we could do it right now. We could do it like we've done before with the gas tax. A couple years ago, we saw a really rapid increase in gas prices. And what did we do? We paused that gas tax during that time to offer consumers real relief at the pump. We could do the same thing now. We could pause many of these taxes and fees that are inside of our bill, and we've heard on this floor that those are sometimes $20, sometimes they're several $100 compared to, depending upon the business or the individual. I can tell you that my bill with 8 people in my household, it's a pretty extreme bill, so it would be a pretty extreme savings for me if we paused those today. That would be real savings. I've heard from the utilities that this could be 50 cents, this could be $1.70, somewhere in there. I don't diminish savings, right? Savings are savings, but if we want real savings, that's how we get them immediately. And that's why I'm going to be a no on this bill.
Recognizing the gentleman from the Eastern Shore. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to touch on, I guess, the potential issue of this being virtue signaling. We don't know exactly what the savings are going to be. It could be $1, it could be $4. We don't know, but we certainly know that it's more than likely less than $5. And I think what a lot of folks don't know is that Pepco, Pepco charges Prince George's County residents, if they use 500 kilowatts a month, about $6.30, and it goes up if they use 1,500 kilowatt hours of electricity, it could be $16 a month. A lot of people didn't know that. But I'm guessing that there's probably not going to be a bill anytime this session that will either pause that or eliminate that charge. And I'm guessing that the county government doesn't use that money for any sort of energy savings program either. I'm guessing they probably use that money to balance the county budget. But that would be a great opportunity to give some money back to the ratepayers of a county. And that's much more meaningful than this. I mean, we're talking about just a couple dollars. We're talking, it could be 400% more than this, 800%, 2,000% more than this, depending on how much electricity a household uses. But I think that would be a great opportunity to give some money back to our ratepayers, at least for one of our jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. Thank you.
Recognizing the gentleman from Prince George's County.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. Colleagues, for the last hour, we have heard a lot, but I think there's one common thing we all can agree on, is that constituents are begging for us to do something. Now, I've heard about this being HB1, it does not go far enough. When I learned to count, my mother told me, don't stop at 1, but keep counting. And so what we're doing is, not just this, but throughout this entire session, we have a myriad of bills to help solve this energy crisis. There's one thing that we did do in this bill, though. We protected the linemen. We amended this bill to ensure that our union workers were protected. And so it's just one step. $1 means a lot when you're balancing to pay your rent, mortgage, health care costs. I help take care of my grandmother. Her electric bill is sky high, and she has to choose between paying for her insulin or electricity costs. And so, as I've heard Prince George's County invoked, and as one that represents a district that has 2 of the utility companies, BG&E and Pepco, I am happy to vote green for this bill because this points us in the right direction. And so I'm so thankful that our colleagues across the aisle have great ideas. We can work together in concert and synergy, and we can address this crisis. But listen, please vote green for this bill because your constituents are expecting you to do something to drive us forward. Thank you.
The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
To explain my vote.
1 second. 1 second. Has everyone recorded their vote? Make sure you record it. Okay, recognizing the lady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
House
welcome.
Bill 1 is a bill about nothing, and it is a bill that does nothing. The floor leader stood and said, the subcommittee chair said this bill will do nothing. If we wanted to take real action, it is the #1 call we get in our office. And this will not reduce people's utility bills. I have a bill right here from a grocery store of $37,000. If we wanted to help, we would have paused their sales tax. We would have paused Empower. But this bill, when our people open their electric bills in March, April, May, they will see no savings, and they will know this was a bill about nothing.
Okay, recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Explain my vote, colleagues. I want to applaud the committee for doing a great job explaining the technicalities of the bill. But this is a very simple bill. We heard a lot of distractions. This is a bill to lower energy prices. But I want to say I found some of the floor debate unhelpful here. We had people talking about the green god. We had people talking about clean energy. Well, look what's happening here in Maryland, the context that we need to understand. We have canceled green energy projects coming from this administration left and right. This is not a all-above energy policy from the administration. Harford County, Butterby Farm had thousands of dollars pulled from their solar project. Two Boots Farm, Carroll County, thousands of dollars pulled from their solar project. 1 Acre Farm, Montgomery County, thousands of dollars pulled from their energy project. 10,000 households were pulled for community solar by this administration. They're withholding over $30 million for our EV charging. Does this sound like an administration that is helping us get to more energy produced in Maryland? Oh no, they are pulling planned energy generation down on the shore. I know you don't like that kind of energy, but they are pulling down billions of investment, and they're canceling out contracts for some of our farmers who have already installed the equipment. There is more coming to address these topics, but do not be distracted. This is a very simple bill to reduce energy prices.
Recognizing the gentleman from the Eastern Shore from the ACO Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Explain my vote. Timing can sometimes be everything. 11:30 today, the Baltimore Sun headline, BGE to lay off 68 workers in union and management, citing changing regulations. BGE blamed unclear and changing rules and policies that make it very difficult for them to plan in the future. This is just another policy we're forcing down on BGE. I'm a red on this vote.
Recognizing the gentleman from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To explain my vote, I have the honor of holding the seat previously held by the distinguished former delegate who is now chair of the Public Service Commission. And I have to say, I'm enjoying hearing so many colleagues in the minority party invoking his name today. But I am far from being as articulate or as expert as he is, or as the good delegate from District 20 is on the environmental and energy issues being discussed here today. I'm just a simple suburban lawyer. But
Don't hold it against him.
Thank you. But I recognize that my constituents and my own mother in Baltimore County, who calls me weekly to complain about her electricity bills, want lower electricity bills and clean air. And they want to hold utility companies accountable on those fronts, and we can do both. And my understanding is that the informational testimony from the PSC chair that was being cited by others today did not oppose this bill, but rather took no position on the bill, and I think that's an important clarification. And while, of course, the bill doesn't solve all of our energy problems, it is one more important step toward those ends, along with the other legislation that we have previously passed and the other bills we will be considering this session. And so for that reason, I am voting green on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Recognizing the delegate from Hartford County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
To explain my vote, I'm a red vote for all the reasons stated by my fellow conservative members who are in the red right now. This bill doesn't do anything. The PSC can already do these things, and it is disingenuous for us to lead like this. People are going to end up in several months' time having very high bills and wanting to know why this did not work. Why did you go down there for 90 days, pass HB1, tell me it was going to lower my bills, and then it did not? This is the culmination of a decade's worth plus of policies that have led to astronomical bills. This is not going to solve it, and I am not holding my breath that there will be other bills that actually solve it. And the folks who are going to pay for not fixing this problem, the people sitting in this room in the upcoming elections. God bless.
Recognizing the delegate from Hartford County in the back.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Well, hello. Colleagues, I stand up today to, I cast a green vote simply because this bill, even though the minority party is saying that it's not going to save ratepayers money, it will save ratepayers money, one. And number two, I heard about the PSC and the regulations and they having the authority to do this right now. And James Madison once said that if men were angels, then we wouldn't need a government. So we are the government, and we need to put guardrails on what needs to happen within this state. So that's why I'm casting a green vote today.
Recognizing the delegate from Southern Maryland. I am coming your way.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
I rise to vote against HB1 for a really simple reason. HB1 is the first bill of this legislative session, we're weeks into it, that deals with electricity prices or electricity at all. And the fact of the matter is, it is an incredibly deceptive bill because it's trying to fool the public into thinking that the majority party is doing something, when in fact, the bill does nothing. It's like Seinfeld, right? I'm waiting for Kramer to come out and start laughing, because the bill does nothing. We actually do have an opportunity, of course, to do something, and that would be to unwind all the taxes in your bill, which would result in a 25% reduction. Wouldn't that be great? So I just want to remind the citizens of Maryland, don't forget, pretty soon this legislature is going to vote to give AstraZeneca, I don't know, $14.5 million a year. And the Sphere, $10 million. I'm looking forward to seeing your votes on that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome. Recognizing the gentleman from Anne Arundel County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Look, I don't think I've ever actually risen on a bill on the floor before, but today is actually my 1-year anniversary of being here in the House.
Congratulations.
So thank you. Thank you. But I rise to explain my vote because in that 1 year, this is one of the proudest green votes I've ever cast. And I'm proud of it because, firstly, it will lower utility rates, and it will lower people's electricity bills. But more than that, it sends a clear message that we as a General Assembly, that we as a state, will not tolerate our Maryland families being used as an unlimited revenue source for our corporate utility executives. Even more than that, it's about affordability and it's about accountability. And I urge all my colleagues to put up a green vote because it will show Maryland families that we will not tolerate them footing the bill for our largest corporate utility companies. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To
You're
explain
welcome.
my red vote, I heard a lot of talk today, and I just did an AI lookup. I said something about who sets utility rates. It says rates are through a structured regulatory process known as rate case, where they submit projected costs for operations, maintenance, infrastructure investments to a public utility commission, meaning our PSC. The goal is to establish revenue requirement that covers these costs and provides reasonable return on investment for shareholders. When you listen to this, you sit back and say that these big corporate utilities must be doing one whale of a job telling our Public Service Commission how much it's going to cost them, because they set these rates. That is how they make their profits, and we're somehow blaming them for being better at their job than we apparently are at ours. Thank you.
Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
A lot's been said, and it's rare. I mean, I agree with almost every word that the minority party has said today, but I also agree with some of the points made by the majority party. With that said, I think the gentleman from Southern Maryland made points as to why, and we're here right now. Some of the failed policies that have come out of this body, the supermajority controlled by one party, has got us to where we are. But and with that said, we had an amendment that I think could have made a real difference yesterday from the gentleman from Calvert County that would have pushed, one, transparency, and two, it would have actually had this novel concept that the ratepayers would pay for the actual energy that they use. I know it may seem on the surface that is what it is. Some people may make the argument it's more complicated than that, but the fact is the policies have got us to where we are. With that said, I want to make the point that BG&E is out of control. BG&E is not, well, it's a government-regulated monopoly. It is not a private company in the sense of a traditional private company where it has competition. I mean, it does not have competition. So if it's raising prices, if it's inefficient, there's no mechanism to go after BG&E like we would in the private market. So I think this bill does very little, but I think it does something. I would like to go a lot further, as already has been hammered, but that is why I'm supporting this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentleman from Prince George's County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To explain my vote, colleagues, today is day 24 of 90. For those that aren't as good with numbers, that means we have 66 more days to do the work of the people of Maryland here. And we're going to do just that. You've heard from so many people in the majority about all of the bills that we have moving forward, many of which haven't even been dropped yet. That deadline is next week. And so I look forward to all of us working together to make sure that we're lowering costs for folks. Because in this bill, HB1, it is very simple. It is not saying utility companies can't pay their fabulous CEOs, as we heard, the millions of dollars that folks feel like they deserve. It's not saying that these folks can't be compensated for all of the amazing things that we hear that they do every single day on this floor. What it is saying is that our ratepayers, our neighbors, are not going to foot the bill. And I think that's good policy. Even if it saves you 10 cents, that's 10 cents more you have to do whatever it is under this God's green earth that you want to do. And so with that, I urge the rest of us to vote green on this bill and continue to work together to lower the cost for all Marylanders. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The delegate from Western Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm very encouraged by the debate that this body is finally focusing on fiscal responsibility. We heard during the debate that Reggie invests in energy efficiency. Well, someone better tell the governor, because the SEEF fund, as we all heard, and in the proposed budget, is proposed to be drained from some $800 million down to about $160 million. The proposed budget includes transfers of the SEEF fund of $259 million to the general fund, $33 million to MEA administration, which when you dig a little farther in MEA administration, those folks got 64% pay raises in 1 year from 2023 to 2024. James Cobb got a 63.9% increase to $159,000. Steve Towson increased to $179,000. And Paul Pinsky, $195,000, a 21% increase in 1 year. So I'm glad we're opening up this can of worms, and I hope we don't stop here. Thank you.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
After getting many phone calls from my constituents, I did a little investigation. I actually called a former member that was on the Public Service Commission. I says, is there any way we can ask the Public Service Commission to lower these rates? He says, he started laughing. He said, Bob, that's not going to happen. I'm like, you got to be kidding. Anyway, this plan of closing down our fossil fuel plants has backfired because now it's costing us more. Wagner Point, the other one over on the other side of the shore, I'm trying to think what it is, but anyway, they just invested, I think, before they closed it down, over $3-4 million, it might have been more than that, in processing clean energy. I'm going to vote red for this because it doesn't go far enough. We need to come together like this and work hard and make sure we get the ratepayers a break. Thank you.
Recognizing the other gentleman from District 6.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am voting against this bill today on behalf of the people who identify themselves as BGE victims. They're looking to us for a solution, and this is anything but that. I actually appreciate the comments of the gentleman from Montgomery in saying we need to challenge authority, our institutions don't represent us. This bill is a great example because I feel this bill is more about protecting us than it is about lowering rates. In closing, the gentleman from Montgomery said the Public Services Commission did not take a position on this bill. That is actually not true, and I'd like to read it in closing. In line with these rate-making principles, the Commission's established precedent is to disallow utility recovery of employee bonuses in rates. The Commission's established precedent is to disallow utility recovery of employee bonuses in rates. This bill does nothing. It does nothing to help our constituents. That's why I'm a no.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I rise to explain my vote. First, just to say how happy I am to see how bipartisan this vote is. And second, just to say the reason I'm voting for this is a very simple message that we are sending. In the business community, excessive corporate bonuses are paid for out of corporate profits. And the message that we are sending is that it should be the same for the utilities. That's why I'm proud to vote for this bill.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk would take the call. There being 97 votes in the affirmative and 30 votes in the negative, House Bill 1, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentleman from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just have a point of inquiry for the deputy parliamentarian.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Hi. So I'm looking at the House rules. for folks that want to read along with me, but page 20 under prerogatives, it says the speaker may speak on points of order in preference to other members and shall decide all points of order. Is it right to interpret that if a member of this body has an issue with a member's contribution, instead of just standing up and interrupting, they must first lead with point of order and state what that point of order is, so that the speaker is aware and can then decide on that point of order?
It would be up to the speaker to determine. A member traditionally should start with point of order, but doesn't have to. Acknowledging the speaker with Madam Speaker is enough if the speaker chooses to acknowledge that person and address their point of order or inquiry or whatever they may be asking about.
Gotcha. And so the rules does direct us that point of order as opposed to just standing and interrupting a member's contribution.
That is the preferred way to say Madam Speaker or point of order.
Thank you. The reason why I asked that, Madam Speaker, because I've noticed there's a trend during debates. Folks may disagree what others say in their contributions, but getting up and interrupting without providing a point of order or citing the House rules and just stating that House rules have been violated doesn't provide the body with any edification, nor does it move the debate along. So I would just ask, I would caution my colleagues to please look at the House rules. I know the minority leader loves to reference it, including on technicalities, and just asking that folks would refer to the rules as opposed to just interrupting members during contributions.
Thank you. Letters of reassignment. The clerk will read the letter.
House Bill 561, reassigned to Appropriations and Ways and Means. House Bill 609, reassigned to Appropriations. House Bill 660, reassigned to Appropriations and Ways and Means. House Bill 807, reassigned to Ways and Means. House Bill 810, reassigned to Economic Matters. House Bill 816, reassigned to Judiciary. House Bill 823, reassigned to Economic Matters. House Bill 808, reassigned to Ways and Means and Economic Matters. House Bill 898, reassigned to Ways and Means and Economic Matters. House Bill 916, reassigned to Environment, Transportation, and Appropriations.
Hearing no objection, the letters are ordered journalized. So that ends the work at the desk. Before I go to committee announcements, I just want to say thank you for a very busy week and the healthy debate, for the respect and the consideration that we're giving each other. We're going to get really busy in the weeks to come. So for planning purposes, do not be surprised if we end up being here late at night. Do not be surprised if we have to come in on a Saturday. Do not be surprised if we have to come in on a Monday morning, because we're not going to get behind on our work. We have 60-something days left, so I want you to plan ahead with your calendars. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed weekend and get some rest. Appropriations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Appropriations Committee will meet for a voting session immediately after session.
Economic Matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Economic Matters will not be meeting. Have a great weekend.
Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Environment and Transportation Committee needs a little breather, so we will not be meeting today.
Government, Labor, and Elections.
GLEE will not be meeting today. Thank you.
Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Health Committee will be meeting immediately after floor for a voting session.
Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Judiciary will have a vote session at 1 p.m. Please listen up for a subcommittee announcement.
Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will not meet today. Thank you.
Subcommittee announcements. Recognizing the chair of Prince George's County, delegate from Prince George's.
Well, right now, Chair of Public Safety Subcommittee. So the Public Safety Subcommittee will meet today, we'll say at 12:45. Hopefully it should go really quickly. Thanks. Via Zoom. Thank you.
Any other subcommittee announcements? Seeing none, any delegation announcements? Okay, recognizing the delegate from Carroll County.
The District 5 delegation, we're going to be having our district night on Monday at 5:30 over in the Senate office building. So everybody, they're welcome to come over. We'll have some barbecue. We'll have a local distillery, and I think we'll have a local brewery also there. So come on over at 5:30 to, I believe, 7:30 over on Monday. Thank you.
That's good food. Thank you. Any other delegation announcement? Okay. Caucus announcements. Recognizing the delegate from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
4 o'clock on Monday afternoon, the Fire and EMS Caucus will be meeting live in the Senate building and also via Zoom. For those who are interested in the Fire and EMS Caucus. And the Waterman's Caucus will be meeting via Zoom on 6 p.m. Monday evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other delegation or caucus announcements? Seeing none. Personal or guest announcements. Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 2 announcements. First, on behalf of myself, and may I use 2 delegates' names?
Yes.
Delegate Ruff and Delegate Stinnett from the 41st District. We'd like to welcome the doctor of the day, Dr. Jay Baldwin, who is a family medicine physician and is the medical director for the Maryland Department of Health, who is our doctor of the day.
Welcome. Recognizing the delegate from the Eastern Shore.
No, I have another.
Oh, you have another
Sorry,
announcement.
yes.
Okay.
I want to recognize the 95th birthday celebrant of the day, my Aunt Margie Sonnenfeld.
Oh, happy birthday.
And her daughter, my cousin and friend, Babette Sonnenfeld, who is Sonnenfeld Lubben, who is named after my mother. When I was, I guess, in elementary school, Aunt Margie took me to the U.S. Senate to watch that in session. And I remember her referring to Lyndon Johnson as strutting around the floor like a peacock. My aunt still edits my copy, my annual newsletter. She still edits that, one of several who do. And 35 years ago at her 60th birthday party on a Sunday afternoon, she told everyone there when she spoke to her friends that the next day her nephew, me, would be the floor leader when the House of Delegates considered the codification of Roe v. Wade. And that bill was passed the next day. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome Aunt Margie, a resident of District 16, formerly a resident of District 18, touching all my bases in Montgomery County. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, recognizing the gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Permission to use the delegates' names.
Permission granted.
So on behalf of Delegate Sheree Sample Hughes and Delegate Chris Adams, I'd like to invite my colleagues and the public to District 37 night on Monday. It'll be at the Market House from 5 to 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Recognizing the gentleman from Prince George's, then the young lady from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
Colleagues, I would like you to help me recognize and welcome my Chief of Staff, who's also joined by her mom, Miss Felicia Wilson, her godmother, Miss Laisha Wilson, and Miss Charmaine Clark, her aunt from Jamaica, and an editor of the Jamaica Observer. Please give them a welcome.
Recognizing the lady from Prince George's in the back, and then I'm coming to the other lady.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use the delegate's name.
Permission granted.
Colleagues, it gives me a great pleasure to ask you all to join me in wishing a happy birthday to my colleague in District 26, our protocol chair, Delegate Veronica Turner. Permission to use the delegates. I asked earlier. Little slow today, little slow. Okay.
You did, no worries.
Thank you.
You're
Delegate
welcome.
Veronica Turner, as she celebrates the 2nd anniversary of her 29th birthday plus 18 years.
Happy birthday, delegate. Recognizing the delegate from the 23rd District from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Colleagues, please join. May I have permission to mention the delegates' names?
Yes.
Please join Delegate Adrian Boafo, Delegate Marvin Holmes, and myself for our District 23 night this Monday in the Senate Office Building in the Miller Room. We will be featuring the Bowie State Jazz Ensemble, and we'll have great food from a great caterer. So you're all invited to join us from 5:30 to 7:30 on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other recognizing the delegate from Prince George's County?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to recognize Brenda Martinez from Houston, Texas, who is here with us. I think she's behind me. And she is the cousin of my esteemed Chief of Staff, Stephanie Guerrero, and she's a Clinical Operations Associate at Baylor College of Medicine in Texas Medical Center. And she doesn't know it yet, but I think hey mama, but she's gonna be my free employee for the day.
Welcome. Any other personal or guest announcements recognizing the delegate and chair judiciary from Anne Arundel County?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
And today I am wearing my Speaker Society hat.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, get out your calendar, be it paper or phone or digital. I want you to save the date. March 26th of this year will be the Speaker Society reception. Yay! It'll be from 12 to 2 p.m. More details to follow.
Want to thank Ms. Rhonda, who a lot of you know, for working on that, and you received that on your email, so please save the date. Thank you, Madam Chair. Any other personal or guest
Madam
announcement?
Speaker.
Recognizing the delegate from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
If the body would help me recognize my legislative intern, Aiden Peters. Aiden's a junior at the University of Maryland, College Park. He's studying public policy. He's an all-around good guy, smart, intelligent. He's in the honors program, completed it in 2024, and he's also a resident of Montgomery County. If you give him a welcome, thank you.
Any other personal or guest announcements? How are you?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore
Since we
County.
bring up Speaker Society, one of the things that occurs there is we recognize people who have passed during the year. I think we would all hope that when we arrive at that moment that we would be recognized on the floor, someone who very few of us probably know, but who served in this body. And I think the Baltimore County delegation would join me in mourning the passing of Danny Minnick, who for many years served here, okay? He was 100 years old, all right? And his brother, Sonny Minnick, also served for quite a while in the Baltimore County delegation. And so I send my thoughts to their family. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other person or guest announcement recognizing the youngest delegate in the House who made us behave today?
Yes,
Go ahead.
indeed. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just simply wanted to bring greetings and invite everyone to welcome my little deputy delegate, Riley Holland, who was born July 16th of last year. And she is here with me today witnessing democracy in action. And this will be her first floor session of many. And so she fell asleep on the job, but she woke up just in time to be recognized. So thanks again, Madam Speaker, and thank you all for welcoming her with open arms.
She is welcome anytime. Any other announcements? All right. Seeing none, we're going to, it is Friday. So you know what we do on Friday, right? So we're going to thank the pages, and I'm going to recognize the protocol chair.
Yes. All right, you sunshines, come on down. everybody. Weren't they wonderful this week? Y'all had them busy. Let's thank them. Wonderful pages for a whole week. Pages, the speaker, and the protocol chair. Thank you so much. And all these delegates, y'all have came and made their day this week, and I hope you come back again. Thank you, and have a great weekend, because I am going to have one. Thank you.
All right, quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? The clerk will take the call. There being 127 members present, the House is still in session, recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Move that the House stands adjourned until Monday the 9th at 8 o'clock p.m.
Have a blessed weekend, everyone.